Good morning and welcome to part 2 of lesson 10.3, which is our measures of, let's get through the right definition here, measures of spread. Yesterday we talked about how to find the upper and the lower quartiles. So I'm going to pick it up from that same place, and then I'm going to introduce one thing that I did not get on our video yesterday, which is the interquartile range. So let's just go back to the problem that we did yesterday, which was a data set. And if you are following along in our notes, this is on page, I believe, 17 in your notes. So we needed to find the minimum, lower, median, upper quartile, and maximum values, as well as the interquartile range for the data set of 42, 38, 50, 48, 62, 55, 96, 46, and 45. Step number 1. Put the data in order from least to greatest. So we did, starting with 38 up to 96. The 3 easiest things to find, obviously, would be the minimum value, which is the first number, which is the smallest value, which is 38. The median, which is the middle number. In this case, there were an odd number of numbers in our data set, so the median stood strong and tall. He's 48. And the maximum would be the largest or the last value in our data set, which is 96. All right, now we're going to move on and find the lower quartile. To find the lower and upper quartiles, the first thing you need to do is make sure you are using the data in order from least to greatest. To find the lower quartile, we are going to use the first half of the data set, or that would be the numbers that are less than your median of 48. So the first half of the data set would be 38, 42, 45, and 46. The lower quartile, by definition, is the median of the first half of the data set. Since there are 2 middle numbers, we would add 42 plus 45, divide by 2, and the lower quartile is 43.5. To find the upper quartile, again we use the data in order from least to greatest right here, and we're going to use all values that are greater than the median, which would be 50, 55, 62, and 92. Now we are going to, by definition, the upper quartile is the median of the second half of the data set. Again, we have 2 middle numbers, so to find the median, by definition, when there are 2 middle numbers, we add 55 and 62 together, divide by 2, and get 58.5. So we have now found the upper quartile as well as the lower quartile. Okay, the interquartile range, which you can abbreviate as IQR if you so desire. Inter means between. Range means difference between highest and lowest. So the interquartile range is just the upper quartile, which is 58.5, minus the lower quartile, which is 43.5. So the interquartile range equals 15. That's pretty simple and straightforward, probably a lot easier than most of us thought it would be. All right, again, the range, this is on page 18 of your notes, is just the difference between the highest and the lowest. I know yesterday we did discuss and go over stem and leaf plots, and I think we did a great job with that. Please remember the most important things about a stem and leaf plot, and you can refer back to the first lesson on 10.3 if you need to listen to the other video. A stem and leaf plot. The left side is always labeled stem. The right side is labeled leaf. Okay? The bigger numbers are your stems. The smaller number are your leaves. It is imperative that you label it and that you provide a key. No key equals no credit. That's our model. Okay. So we're going to pick it up right from here today. Quartiles and interquartile ranges. There are 3 quartiles that divide the data into 4 equal parts. The upper quartile divides the top half into 2 equal parts, and the lower quartile divides the bottom half into 2 equal parts. For those that are here right now in class, I just want to make a comment and say I'm going to throw these definitions back up. I just want to get through the lesson. Again, the interquartile range is the upper quartile minus the lower quartile. All of these definitions are in your notes as well. Are we good on upper quartile, lower quartile, and interquartile range? Does anyone have a question up to this point? Outstanding. The next thing I want to talk to you about, and I do want you to take some time, so if you're following in your notes, you can turn to page 18B. You do not need to copy this definition. It is there. You can highlight it on the top of your page. I wrote it out because I wanted you to see it, and I put it in red because I wanted you to really see it. Okay, by definition, a box and whisker plot displays the extremes, the quartiles, and the median for a set of data. The length of a box represents the interquartile range. The vertical line that we're going to draw represents or equals the median. The horizontal lines represent the whiskers, which are the upper and the lower quartile. And the bullets at the end represent the extreme values, or the lowest value in your data set and the highest value in your data set. Again, this is a term that maybe you have seen a box and whisker plot before. Some people have and some people haven't. And they call it, looks like the whiskers on a cat. Kind of a weird name. Again, all of that is in your notes. Page 18B. Again, just because in some classes yesterday it wasn't on the video, but there was an error in my notes. I did send an email home to all parents as well as students that the interquartile range is found by the upper quartile minus the lower quartile. Do not, and I repeat, do not multiply by 1.5. All right, how do we draw a box and a whisker plot? So glad that you asked. So if you guys are with me on page 18B, you can see that we've been given a set of data. And we were really nice because we already took that data and put it in order for you from least to greatest. Our data set is 3, 7, 9, 14, 16, 19, 19, 25, and 28. Step number 1. Order the data from least to greatest. It's already in the proper order. Step number 2. Find the lower quartile and the upper quartile. However, the first thing you want to do is find the median. Do we all understand that the median is 16? Yes? Yes. We're all good that the median is 16. Okay. So the lower quartile, in this case, there are 2 middle numbers. So the lower quartile is the median of the first half of the data, which would be 7 plus 9 divided by 2, or 16 divided by 2, which is 8. Does everyone understand how I got the lower quartile? Okay, the upper quartile is the median of the upper half of the data set, which would be 19 plus 25 divided by 2, which is 22. Okay, the interquartile range is the difference between the upper quartile and the lower quartile, which is 22 minus 8, or 14. Okay? This next part, I'm not actually holding you responsible for. It's more of an upper level, and I spoke with our math department chair this morning, and she's also the one who teaches all of the stats classes. So the next step, let me just read it to you, because I think the ones that we're going to be doing do not have any outliers. Remember, I told you yesterday what an outlier was. An outlier is either an extremely, extremely low or an extremely, extremely high value in a set of data, which could actually throw off some of your important statistics. An outlier, in this particular case, is a data value that is at least 1.5 quartile ranges less than the first, which is the lower quartile, or the second quartile, which is the upper quartile. Again, I'm not holding you responsible. So let me show you how to construct a box and whisker plot. The first thing I need you to do is to go back and to look at our data. And our smallest number on our data was 3. Our largest number was 28. So I chose to go by 3s. And I started my number line. Hey, a good rule of thumb, you should always go one number below your first number in your data set and one number above. Let me go ahead and write that for you. I think that might be helpful. So when constructing your number line, go one number below your smallest in the data set, and go one number above the largest in your data set. So that's why I started with 0 and I went 0, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, and 30. The next step is we are going to draw a box to designate the data between the upper and the lower quartile. So what was the upper quartile? Who remembers? And what was the lower quartile? 8? Okay. So it's going to look like this. So we're going to estimate that 8 is about here, that 22 is about here, and we're going to draw a box. Hence where we get the name box and whisker plot. So we might want to put here that this is 8, lower quartile, upper quartile equals 22. Okay, next we are going to draw a vertical line through the median. The median was what, guys? 16? Median equals 16. You don't necessarily need to do this when you draw it. I am writing everything so you can see it. Now we are going to draw a line from the lower quartile, which was 8, to the least value in our data set. What was the smallest value in our data set? 3. And then we're going to put a bullet on it. Okay? Now we're going to draw a line from our upper quartile, which was 22, to the greatest number in our data set, which was what? 28. I think it was 28. And that's your box and whisker plot. However, I wanted to break it down for you by giving you steps. Are you with me? So I went through it again. Let's go through it one more time. How do you construct a box and whisker plot? Sorry. All right. To draw a box and whisker plot for the following data, order the data from smallest or least to greatest. Find the median. Find the lower quartile and the upper quartile. By definition, the lower quartile is the median of the lower half or the first half of the data. The upper quartile is the median of the second half or the the larger part of your data set. Then find the interquartile range. To find the interquartile range, we subtract upper quartile minus lower quartile. Now, check to see if there are any outliers. We are going to skip that part. Now draw a number line. The rule of thumb that I gave you in red was, come on, let's cooperate here. To always construct your number line and make sure that you are providing one number below and one number above. I apologize for those of you that are watching. I'm really not sure what's happening here. Okay, and so we went and constructed our number line, and instead of starting with 3 and ending with 28, we started with 0 and end it with 30. Now we are going to draw a box to designate the data between the upper and the lower quartile. The lower quartile was 8. I'm estimating I'm drawing a vertical line. The upper quartile is 22. I'm drawing a vertical line, and I am making a box. The other vertical line that I dropped is representing the median. The median was 16. This is 15 on my number line. I am again estimating. So now we have the box part of the box and whisker plot. We get the whiskers by drawing a line from the lower quartile, which was 8, to the smallest number in our data set, which is 3. And we get the other whisker by drawing a horizontal line from the upper quartile to the largest number in our data set, which was 28. And there is your box and whisker plot. Okay? So thank you for listening today, and stay tuned again tomorrow for more fun.